everybody. Welcome to this presentation. Thank you very much for your online attendance. And we are going to present this co-creating opera, presenting the learning of the Traction project. Okay, I introduce myself. My name is Irene Calvís. I'm the responsible of the social program at the Liceu Opera House. And I am the leader of the Liceu partner in the consortium, in the European consortium Traction, Opera Co-Creation for a Social Transformation. The audience of this presentation is not face-to-face, but they are connected online. The presentation will last 1 hour, more or less, okay? And in it, the members of this consortium, we are going to present what was the Traction project, okay, and what we have done during these 3 years of project, okay. We are going to summarize all this work mainly in 2 aspects: a book that we wrote about the project and a new co-art website, okay. But before starting this presentation, I would like to introduce Valentí Oviedo. He is the General Director of the Liceu Opera House. Valentí, thank you very much for being here today with us. For the consortium, it's really very important to have your attendance here. And first of all, I would like to ask you what the Traction project meant for the Liceu Opera House.
Thank you very much, Irene, Mikel. It's a pleasure to be here to talk about this amazing project that where we have spent more than 4 years with him. Look, this project joins probably the 2 most important issues that makes that some people can advance or not in the society. These 2 aspects, these 2 issues, these 2 pillars are the digital divide and the cultural divide. And these 2 big pillars are the essence of this project. Because nowadays, believe me, not only the meritocracy, not only with meritocracy, you get your goals. You need parentocracy. Actually, there's no equity in people because exists parentocracy. That means that depending on where you were born, or where do you live, or who are your parents, you have more opportunities to get something. And this is a gift, and this is what it is. So, public foundations or the administrations had the obligation to try to develop projects where can get balance the equity between people. And I think that Traction is a good example how the digital divide and the cultural divide can be reduced with a project like that. For me, this is the essential aspect. But then there are 2 more aspects. The second one is that thanks to this project, Liceu has changed his way of explain his project and has done a big step forward to the new concept of opera in the 21st century. So this is clear in how people look at us. And the third one is that this project has changed a little, at least, the soul of the Liceu. The soul of the Liceu is its employees. So this has changed the way of understanding the culture, and many people, many employees has understand that music can change the life of people. So these are the 3 main aspects that for me, under my own opinion, Traction has been very, very important for our consortium and for the Liceu Opera House.
Thank you very much, Valentí. I know that you have a busy schedule and you have to leave, but because we are going to present this new co-art website, I think we have the person who can explain it the best way. He is Mikel Zorrilla. He is the project leader of this consortium of the Traction project, and he represents the Vicomtech company. And please, Mikel, if you can tell us a little bit what this new co-art website is showing to our audience and what they are going to find in the new website. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. Buona tarda, Arratsaldeon. Many thanks for the organization of this event. We are presenting here the work of 3 years of research. We've started very early in 2020 to work with Traction, and we ended just the 31st of December of 2022. And it's been a pleasure to see now that the project is finished and we are just closing it, everything that we did. So before presenting the website, and instead of being me, the one explaining what we did in the project, I would like to show a video that it's in the main landscape of the website, that it's about 9 minutes of duration, and it resumes very well the partnership of 9 different organizations from 5 different countries, 3 exploratory operas, how we use the technology across the different exploratory operas, and I would like to show it, and we will continue the presentation after the video.
Does opera still matter? What could be its future? We think opera is extraordinary. So we set out to show why and how co-creation is central to its future. A consortium of artists, technologists, and researchers, we worked with communities in Barcelona, Portugal, and Ireland to co-create 3 exploratory operas. This film is about what we did, what we learned, and what it might mean for opera. Opera can look out of place in today's world. Its stories, style, and language seem remote and elitist. Our lives are shaped by diversity, globalization, and technology. We worry about climate change, war, and inequality. Opera may have timeless qualities, as its fans believe, but they need to breathe and connect with today's concerns. Traction was a partnership of opera companies, research institutes, and universities established to explore how opera might tell new stories in new ways that resonate with today's European societies. The foundation of our work was co-creation, a process in which professional artists work on an equal basis with non-professional artists to create new art. Everyone involved is an artist, just as everyone in a marathon is a runner. Though some are going for a world record, while others are just trying to beat their own time. But they bring different resources to the creative process. Professional artists have skills, knowledge, experience, and judgment. Non-professionals have fresh ideas, things to say, and a need to say it. Together, they can co-create something that neither could have made alone. That's what happened when one of our partners, the Liceu Opera House in Barcelona, invited people from Raval to co-create a new opera about their own dynamic, diverse but often misjudged neighborhood. La Gata Perduda is the story of a community's self-defense against exploitation by those who would sell it off and enrich themselves. The opera drew on interviews with residents to shape a story of joyful resistance. 350 local people sang, danced, and acted with professional opera artists, while hundreds more co-created the costumes, stage set, and posters. So many people wanted to see the performances that 1,000 were invited to the dress rehearsal. No one wanted to miss the Liceu takeover by Raval. In Portugal, the Samp Music School has been producing Mozart with inmates of the Ria Youth Prison for several years. But Traction gave them the chance and the resources to co-create a new opera based on the lives of the participants and their relatives. The production used a Traction digital tool called Co-Creation Stage to link performers on the stage with others in the music pavilion at the prison, as well as people involved in the operas in Barcelona and Dublin. The opera reimagined the myth of Ulysses and Penelope, separated by their own decisions, to create a moving and original work that was performed twice inside the prison and twice in a Lisbon concert hall. This work involves long-term change for the people who take part and for the prison service that has been an invaluable supporter of the opera project. Opera was original in a different way. It is the first virtual reality opera co-created by professional and non-professional artists. Like the other Traction operas, it was developed during the COVID-19 pandemic. Irish National Opera used Co-Creation Space, a new digital tool developed by Traction, to enable people in different parts of the country to co-create the opera's music, visual imagery, and narrative. The 20-minute piece, experienced only through a VR headset, recasts Irish myths into a story of climate destruction and moral choices with alternate endings, according to the viewers' responses. About 100 non-professionals contributed to the process, including some who played or sang in the opera's score. Digital tools developed by Traction supported the co-creation process in the performances and in enabling people to work together in co-creation. That proved invaluable during the lockdowns that constrained work during much of the 3-year project. Crucially, we found ways of using new technology to support and enrich the opera co-creation process. We are still learning how digital technology is changing our lives. But in opera, it can serve the needs of artists, professional and non-professional alike. We have not found the Holy Grail or El Dorado. Opera still faces many questions and challenges if it is to matter in the 21st century. But we have shown that this demanding and glorious art can open itself to the world. We've shown that co-creation, far from reducing standards, can enlarge opera's language and meaning. A living art must change if it hopes to stay the same. Find out more about the opera's co-creation and traction by visiting our new website, co-art.eu.
Well, it is great to see in 9 minutes what we did in 3 years. It's been a really good experience for us, and we believed it was important because we have a website, which is the website of the Traction project, and it will still be alive and you can always check it. But we thought it was very important to create a specific website where we reflect and where we share with the community what we learned and what it may be useful for others to go a step forward in this co-creation of opera, of other performing arts between professional and non-professionals. This website is the one that you are watching behind me. It's co-art.eu, and in this website you will find different sections, the motivation of why to use co-creation and what's the meaning of co-creations. You will also find a lot of information about the 3 exploratory operas that we just saw in the video, the one in Barcelona, in Ireland, and in Portugal. You will know more about the principles and the essence of co-creating opera, and we created also a section which is called Over to You, where you will find practical tools and guidelines and so on, in case you want to face or to address a similar process, no matter the scale, the size. We believe that what we learned and our story could be well, something useful to others to know what are the specific things and the important things. And here you will find all kind of resources. For example, there is a specific book that I won't focus a lot because our colleague François Matarasso, which is the main writer of this book, a 90 pages book about co-creating opera and the principles that we learn, will be presenting it at the end of this session. But there are also other resources like all the evaluation results in a graphical and visual way. There are videos about exploratory operas, specific websites about gata.perduda.com or the exploratory opera in Ireland, Out of the Ordinary. There are videos about documentaries that have been done with all of them. There are also policy recommendations for those that are interested in policies and influencing the different policy makers and so on. And there is also a specific focus about how technology has been used to foster and to promote and to help in the co-creation process, mainly with 2 different tools: the co-creation space to help people to create together in a shared space, and also the co-creation stage, which is a tool to enable people to perform together from different locations. And you will find also a video with the perspective of end users and how the tools have been used in the exploratory operas, and also a specific, very technical wiki site with all the source code. All the tools are open source, so we believe that this is just the starting point for them, and they will have a view. So I will just would like to invite you to access the website and to explore all the content. And before going on, I would also like to remind you that those you are following the YouTube link in live in English or in Catalan, that you are able to make your questions there. Just write a comment, and we will be checking that. So we will answer some of those questions at the end of the session. So don't hesitate to make your questions, and we will try to answer as much as possible. So thank you very much, Irene, and we can continue.
Thank you, Mikel, for this magnificent explanation about the website. Now, because we are in Barcelona and we are in the Opera House, we would like to invite five singers from La Gata Perduda. They are from the Raval neighborhood. They sang the character of the Raval choir. They come from the musical choir, which is in the Raval neighborhood, and they are going to sing just a small piece of this opera, La Gata Perduda, the hymn of this opera. This hymn has been a French mark of this community opera, and we are very happy to have them here. The music of this La Gata Perduda opera was composed by Arnau Tordera. The libretto was written by Victoria Spoonberg. There is the stage direction of Ricard Soler and the stage music direction of Alphonse Reverter. Now I want to say hello to Quimsaina Powers-Fernández, Martí Grau, Alex Chang, and Muna Halul, and Judith, and they are going to interpret this short fragment.
una cella alçada, no ens mira més per damunt l'espatlla. Qui ho ha dit? Qui ho ha dit? Qui ho ha dit? Qui ho ha dit? No escriviu més sobre el nostre destí, baixeu a escoltar-nos aquí. No escriviu més amb cella alçada, no ens mira més per damunt l'espatlla. Qui ho ha dit? Qui ho ha dit? Qui ho ha dit? Qui ho ha dit? El profund que perdura entre els segles com una muralla en el temps.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for this interpretation. I would like to, Quimsaina, come with me, join me next to me, sit next to me, and I would like to ask you a few questions after this marvelous performance. And first of all, I would like to know, Quimsaina, what did you think when Cristina Colomer, the director of Musicals Choir and the coordinator of all the choirs of La Gata Perduda, told you that you are going to be part of an opera and singing this opera at the Liceu Opera House?
Well, honestly, I did not understand what was going on. I understood that we were going to be performing with the Liceu and that we were going to be performing on stage, and I thought that that would be so glamorous, and I thought that that would be really exciting, so I knew that I was definitely going to show up for that. But in all honesty, I did not know what was going to happen.
Okay, and then you remember that this was a 1 year period of rehearsal, so it was quite intense. And I would like to know, Quimsaina, it was difficult for you to maintain the rehearsal planning with your regular life?
Yes, it was. I remember constantly being in a rush, so I was also constantly late to work, to school, to rehearsals, to choir rehearsals, and that was quite stressful. But the whole time I thought what a privilege it was to be there and to be performing in something so impactful, so I just tried my best to show up.
Good. And then the last question for you, it's what about after the experience of the two performances on October in the Liceu, I would like to know, what do you think about the whole experience? And then if you would like to repeat it again or not?
Well, I'm not going to lie. The experience for me was very stressful and very overwhelming. My native language is English, but I grew up in Raval and I grew up in Gótico, so I understand Spanish and Catalan almost perfectly. But I'm also an autistic woman, so being in a room with 100+ people, being directed in Catalan, made me feel quite confused, and I didn't understand what was needed of me at times. But I feel like a lot of people felt that way. It was also quite physically challenging, but I know that everybody tried their best to hold it together and give their all on stage, and that's what I feel like I did too, and I'm very proud of everybody, but especially myself, for achieving what we have done. And I would absolutely do it again, because it was something so special. The way that it was done, what it gave us all, like we were able to perform also in the Reyes Magos, in the New Year's sort of carnival, festival, I guess, parade, and that was amazing. I never knew that I would be able to have access to something like that, and it's all because of the opera and the Liceu. And I think that it was amazing that we were given this opportunity to express ourselves and to say what we need to say in something that will probably live forever. And so I just want to say that, yes, I would definitely do it. And I'm so grateful that we had this chance. And I'm especially grateful to Cristina Colomer, our choir director, for working her butt off to give us the chance to even do this in the beginning.
Thank you very much, Quimsaina, and thank you very much to Cristina also, and the members that they were singing right here, right now, with us. And to continue with this presentation, we are honored to have between us François Matarasso. He's connected, I think he is in Oxford. François, is it correct?
No, I'm in Nottingham today.
Oh, sorry, Nottingham, okay. And François Matarasso, he's an expert in artistic community processes, and he's one of the 9 members of this consortium, Traction. And I would like to introduce him, and I would like, François, that you explain to us a little bit why we decided to write this booklet, which is already a book, no? Why we decided to write this booklet and what the audience will find when they will read the booklet, and what is the purpose of this booklet?
Thank you, Irene. It's a pleasure to be here, even if it's only remotely. The booklet and the website go together. They're important because we spent a lot of time, 3 years, working on the projects and learning a lot. And there's a lot of technical reports and academic style reports that of what was done and what we learned. But that isn't always very accessible to the artists and the opera makers and the people working in performing arts that we hope will benefit and from the learning of the Traction project. So the booklet that we produced tells the story of this, but it focuses particularly on co-creation. And I'll say a few words about that because it's a term that is often it's now widely used, but it can mean very different things to different people. So from the perspective of Traction and the 3 operas that we worked on, we took a definition of co-creation as being the creation of art by professional and non-professional artists. And as you can see in the image, there are professional and non-professional artists performing in La Gata Perduda in October last year. The important thing is that we recognize everyone who's part of a process as being an artist. But professional artists and non-professional artists bring different insights, different ideas, different skills and resources to the process. And in that, both of them together are able to do something that neither could do alone. Now, one of the consequences of that is that the co-creation is intrinsically diverse. This is an image from the Portuguese opera. As soon as you bring people together who have different relationships with an art form, whether it's opera or something else, you are in a territory of difference and diversity. And we don't see that as a problem. On the contrary, we think it's absolutely fundamental. This is a quote from American poet and writer Audre Lorde, who says, "Difference must be seen as a fund of necessary polarities between which our creativity can spark." And that's the point. In co-creation, it's the differences, the different perspectives, the different experiences, the different ideas that people bring to the co-creation project that make unexpected and exciting and really creative things happen. What that also means, though, is that co-creation can take many, many different forms. And as you'll have seen from the video we presented at the beginning of this hour, even in the 3 operas that were produced through Traction, they were completely different stories, completely different aesthetics, completely different ideas being articulated there. So one of the reasons that we wanted to produce the website and the book was to give some guidance as to what we thought was important in co-creation. And in the booklet, the book finishes with some guiding principles, which I would describe as ideas against which other artists can test their practice, but also reminders of the values on which co-creation depends, because co-creation is fundamentally about the values with which we approach the work. It's much less concerned with what we do than how we do it. So very quickly, I will just touch on the 7 principles that you can read about in much more detail in the booklet, which can be downloaded from the website as well as other materials. So the first is to be aware, to have an understanding of the people, the context, the actions of the work that you're undertaking. This is an image from the prison in Portugal, where one of the projects happened. Clearly, a prison community is a complex situation with its own rules, and to go into that situation without an awareness and an informed understanding would be quite dangerous for everyone concerned. The second principle is equality, that everyone who is involved in that process has an equal right to be heard, to contribute to what eventually emerges. Now, clearly, people bring different abilities. So Arno Todera in La Gata Perduda, which you can see the climax of in the image there, he was the composer of the work, and it requires a particular set of skills to create a 2.5-hour score for an opera. But nonetheless, through the discussions with all of the other people involved in the project, there are ways in which people can contribute and have their voices heard on the interpretation, on the meaning of what's happening. A third principle is ambition. The Irish opera was, as far as we believe, it's the first ever attempt to co-create an opera in virtual reality. We think it's really important to be ambitious because everyone deserves to benefit from the best opportunities, the best processes, the best artistic work. Because you're working with non-professional artists, that's not a reason to lower standards or to cut corners. On the contrary, we owe it to ourselves and to anyone that we work with to be striving for the highest, most ambitious outcomes that we could achieve. But that also requires honesty. Unless we work together with integrity, we cannot build trust. We're bringing together in co-creation people with widely different experiences and people who often don't have good reason to trust others. So how do we build opportunities for learning and empowerment? Only by having absolute integrity and being honest about what we're doing, why we're doing it, who's going to benefit and in what ways, what the expectations are, whether we think something is working or not, that we express our opinion about the co-creation process with honesty. Another principle is to be responsive. One of the unexpected aspects of La Gata Perduda was the involvement of local musicians and bands from the Raval neighborhood in the performance, because only through the community dialogue process, only through the process of co-creation and bringing people together, that's how the artistic team and the others working on the project learned about some of the musicians in the neighborhood and wanted to bring them in and give them an opportunity to be part of the process. Similarly, in La Gata Perduda, the rehearsal process, as you said, Irene, it took a year for the choirs to work on their performance, and they had to work in a way that was completely unusual for an opera house, because people have school and work and family and many other commitments. So it's evening work and weekend work instead of daytime work. And in particular, in La Gata Perduda, there had to be a summer break, which is not something that would normally happen in an opera production. So this sense of being responsive is critical. And then patience. This is an image that was taken after the third performance in Lisbon of the opera from the prison. You can see our great friend Paulo Lamero playing the piano, and this is from, he's the artistic director of SAMP, the organization which led this project. He's playing the goodbye song, which is a ritual that SAMP closes every workshop or artistic session with. And you can see some of the prisoners from some of the inmates from the prison who have just performed in the opera. You can also see people from the Gulbenkian Foundation. You can see the Minister of Justice of Portugal, officials from the Ministry of Justice and the Ministry of Culture, and prison guards. In order to create that trust, that atmosphere, the relationships between all of those people, where there is a lot of risk for everyone involved, different kinds of risks for everyone that you can see in that photograph, it takes enormous patience. It takes an understanding of how to allow things to take their time and to follow their natural course. And the final principle is to be hopeful. Co-creation is always an adventure. You never know what the outcome will be. I have to say, all three of the operas exceeded my expectations, both artistically and in many other ways. I could not have believed at the beginning of the 3-year process that everyone involved would be able to achieve such outstanding results. But uncertainty is not a problem in co-creation. It's because we have uncertainty that we can work towards the outcomes we want. If we knew what was going to happen, the whole process would become much less exciting, much less real. It would matter much less. We would just be going through the motions, like rebuilding a Lego kit from the instructions. There are no instructions in co-creation. We are inventing it each time, and that's what makes it so exciting. Thank you very much, Irene. I'll hand back to you now.
Thank you very much, François. It's always a pleasure to listen to you. And we are always learning. After 3 years of work, still learning a lot from you and from the rest of the partners. And we have still a few minutes left before finishing this presentation. We would like to give the possibility, if you want to intervene through the chat, we are open to answer questions.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I would like to ask François, if possible, as an expert in participatory art and in co-creation, what do you think you learned during this process of 3 different exploratory operas happening with very, diverse communities and so on, about how to handle the expectations between the different participants? Because that's something very relevant about the creative team, professionals, non-professionals, and to manage all those expectations. We were listening that some of the participants didn't know very well what they were facing in the beginning of the process. So how to handle with those expectations in all the directions, and what do you think you learned during this process, and what could you share with the people so someone starting a similar process can take it into account?
I've been working on these processes for many years, as you say. I have learned over that time to trust the process. The co-creation process has never let me down. It always leads to an artistically and humanly meaningful, exciting, creative outcome. It may not be the outcome I was expecting or that other people were expecting, but if you have the confidence to trust the process, I believe very strongly it will not let you down. So what I learned so many things during this year. I mean, apart from anything else, I've never worked on an opera project before, so I learned a great deal about how a big institution like the Liceu works and so on. But I think that one of the strengths that we had in this project was time. It proved to be an invaluable resource, particularly when the first 2 years of the project were so delayed and constrained by the pandemic. And I go back to the sixth principle of patience. I think that because we had time, we were able to ask people to be patient and to allow the outcomes of even individual sessions and then the whole operas to gradually emerge from the process. In Portugal, in fact, after we did a performance of work in progress in June 2021, from which we learned that actually the direction that we had gone in was not working. But we had time to start again with a different libretto, a different concept for the opera, and still were able to bring it to a good result. The final thing I would say is that this process is naturally cyclical. At the beginning, a lot of people will not understand the implications or the complexity or the opportunities that they have agreed to take part in, because it is developmental. And so when Quimsaina was speaking just now and talking about the difficulties and the confusion, it's not surprising to me that this was a confusing experience. Even when you try to explain things to people, it's very difficult to understand things that are beyond your existing experience and knowledge. This is why it's cyclical, because if we have opportunities to do something again, then we bring the knowledge we've acquired from the first time, and we're able to apply that and work much differently in the next iteration. And this is what I think can be empowering about this process. We're empowered by the knowledge and the experience that we gain, and that gives us new capabilities to make choices and to do things in our lives.
Thank you very much, François. Thank you for all your contributions to the project during all these years, and also for the answer. I invite again the audience to go to coart.eu to see the website and the videos, and in particular the book that François just mentioned with the guiding principles, because I think you will find it very, very interesting to read, and there's a lot on what we experience and what we learn, so I really invite you to read it. And this question is for Irene, because you've been connected to a lot of people during this process, all the communities. You've been like the core connecting point with all happening across La Gata, Perduda. So is there a moment, a specific moment, a memorable, personal, or for Liceu or something that you want to share with us in terms of how transforming it was for the people, because I guess that you lived a lot during this process. You saw a lot of things. So is there something that you would like to share with us, no matter if it's about the Liceu, the institution, or specific people?
Well, I remember one day, the first day that all the singers of the big choir, these 11 choirs who were singing this character, were listening the orchestra. The orchestra came from the Conservatoire. They were students from the Conservatori del Liceu. And I remember very well the first day that the singers heard the orchestra playing La Gata perduda was quite amazing, a quite amazing moment, because before that there was a pianist, following the rehearsals and giving the music, putting the music to the rehearsals. But when we heard for the first time the orchestra playing La Gata perduda was a very, very special moment. Also, I would say that also with the choirs, when we started working together, it was a very tough moment for many of them, because there was this pandemic period, and some of the members of these choirs were singing at home. So it was a very lower moment. Everyone was a little bit depressed, and the beginning of this project, when we said, okay, let's try to do it even if the conditions are really very tough, it was a very special moment too, because I think it was a moment of, okay, let's try it, let's do it, let's see what happens, and it was the beginning of something very, very special, very big, and that was an also. And then I would say, Mikel, before the first performance was this intensity, this electricity that you could feel, before the premiere of the opera. It was also very exciting too. And I could say the same question for you. After all these 3 years of project, being working together, and also the creation of the tools, it was also a very important moment of this project. What do you remember about that?
Well, for me, we are from an applied research institute, and we mainly work in big projects like traction, but they are typically very related to engineers and scientifics and so on. So it was a very different project for us comparing to the other projects that we typically work on. So I remember that the biggest challenge was to understand between each other during the first meetings that we did, because we had very different backgrounds, music schools, opera houses, participatory art experts, and so on, and then people writing algorithms, code, technology, and so on. So it took some time, a lot of conversations, and patience, and also a very good attitude in terms of really willing to do and to create also something together. And I think that even though COVID was unfortunate to all of us, and it had a very negative impact on the opera projects and so on, it was at some point, or to see the good side, it put us at home with tools to do conference calls and so on. So we used that time to discuss together. And I think once we really started thinking about the kind of tools that co-creation could need in a situation like pandemic, where people cannot meet in a physical room, so we started envisioning use cases and processes where people really, through a tool, they can really share scores and music and audios and videos and so on. And on the other hand, we have also these first use cases of inmates that cannot go out from the prison, that would like to sing to their relatives in real time, or to connect people that cannot really meet physically to perform. And that's where we started to think in the co-creation space and the co-creation stage that we were calling them in a very different way at the very beginning, and not maybe meaningful. So we really found our way to create something together as a project, also with very, very different backgrounds. And I think it has been a very, very rich experience for me, and I guess for all of us, because we learned a lot from each other, because these different disciplines, these different backgrounds really provide a lot of something very rich to all of us. So that's probably the most underlying part to all of us. And for sure, I mean, the performances moments, I remember when I just entered the Liceu to come here, it came to my mind all those days about the performances of La Gata Perduda, and it's really a very good experience also for us. And yeah, I think that's the most important one.
Thank you very much, Mikel. And I don't know if there is any question before finishing this presentation. If not, you know that you can find more information in the co-art.eu website. So you are all invited to visit us, and if you have questions or whatever, you can contact us. We will be very pleased to share all the things that you.
Yeah, just to end, I would like to thank you all the organizations that have been part of the Traction project, starting from my colleagues in Vicomtech, to François Matarasso, to the Liceu Opera House, to Irish National Opera, to the SAMP School of Art in Portugal, CWI, a research institute in Amsterdam, Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona, Dublin City University, and Virtual Reality Ireland. And also a special thank to our international advisors that have been working with us from the very beginning, and their comments and their expertise was very, very valuable. Especially thank you to Helen Simons, to Hugo Seabra, to Matt Peacock, to Richard Willacy, and to Tania Banotti. And thank you also to the European Commission for funding a project like Traction, and for giving us the opportunity to work during 3 years on this research.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you for being here with us, and see you next time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.